Welcome. My name is Carol Holly. I'm the Region 5 Assistant Feeding Coordinator, and we're going to be talking about the feeding ministry. This is kind of the intro to feeding. The purpose is to minister to persons in a disaster area by preparing, distributing, and serving meals. Here are Vince Alderman is our ServSafe coordinator who knows everything ServSafe and can answer your questions. If we were doing this in person, we would do a walkthrough where we would actually show you the tilt skillets and the convection ovens and how things go. But as this is online, we'll skip that part. We'll talk about the types of disasters, aspects of feeding operations, emphasis on personal hygiene, additional considerations, and hands-on training. If you have a tent and a battery-operated fan, you can bring that with. Sometimes, especially if we're having COVID and we're trying to social distance, that would be helpful. Only bring a twin-size mattress. Men and women will be in separate quarters, and we don't have room to put big queen-size or full-size even cots in there. So bring a twin size. Usually we try and separate feeding from other people because feeding sometimes are getting up at 4 in the morning, and if you're an admin, you really don't want to be woken up by us. So generally, feeding will be separated out, and male and female will be separated. Okay. Bring your linens, bath towels, appropriate sleepwear. We have shower trucks, and so you will be leaving the building and going to a shower trailer, so wear something appropriate. Then the bathrooms are probably going to be down the hall. Localized disasters. That could be tornado or fire. Preparing and serving meals using approved local church kitchens. We're the guests. This is not our kitchen. We may be feeding disaster survivors, feeding disaster relief volunteers, cleanup and recovery people, and ministry teams. And each disaster call out is going to be different. So one of the keys is to be flexible and be prayed up. This, at the top, you see somebody working in a kitchen, and they're serving the food. Sometimes you'll actually be outside under a canvas. You'll have tilt skillets that I look like feeding troughs where you're heating food. You'll have convection ovens. There's widespread disasters, which we've had a lot lately, of hurricanes. We're preparing meals for Florida Baptist Convention feeding units, and sometimes we may be manning non-Florida Baptist disaster units. We do go out of state to help. When we have major call-outs, we've had California, people from Missouri, from the New England states, from Alabama, Georgia, coming to help us. So we might have other states that are helping us. We work with the American Red Cross. Most of the food that's delivered in a disaster through American Red Cross is delivered through, it's been cooked by Southern Baptist and Southern Baptist mobile kitchens. We also sometimes cook food for the Salvation Army, and we use approved local church kitchens. Typical mobile kitchen setup, one thing, no shorts, long pants or capris, closed-toed shoes only, please. And that is for your safety. If you've ever splashed any hot food on you, it is not fun. So you want to be covered and protected. And so this is how the setup we have, where, I don't know if you can see in the back, are the tilt skillets. They're closed. And there's, I think, the man standing in front of the convection ovens. So we have that set up. The food will always be under a cover. This is the Texas City DR site during Hurricane Katrina. They figure out the flow You see the Salvation Army trucks are coming, and they'll come and they'll load up the food to take it out to the community. This is Highland Park, Panama City after Hurricane Michael, which was a very long call out. And you see there it's set up. The little red things are called Cambros, and those are filled with the food. The Red Cross truck will pull up and they'll say, "This is yours," and then we unload it into theirs and they take it out and they actually serve it. Aspects of feeding operations. There's food preparation, off-site feeding, on-site feeding, cleaning and sanitation, inventory and logistics, and administration. There is a lot involved in feeding people. Food preparation, opening canned food. Basically, we're heating food. We're technically not cooking it. We're heating things. The temperatures to keep food safe, Cambro use and labeling, and accounting for meals prepared. This is a pneumatic can opener, and it about scares me to death whenever I hear it, but it'll open cans really quick. And what you need to do is you wipe the cans first with food safe sanitizing solution, and then you open the cans. And we'll talk about it later, but if you'll notice, that man has a beard and he has a beard cover on. Heating food. There's the tilt skillets, that I like to call the feeding troughs, and then you've got your convection ovens. Notice that she's dumping the can. Never strike the can on the edge of the skillet, because you might get metal or paper dislodged into the food. If you must scoop it out, use a spatula to scoop out any that's remaining. Usually when you just shake it out, it comes out. Proper temperatures. There's one temperature you need to remember in DR, and it's 165. We heat everything above, at or above 165. Frozen foods must be kept below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Cold foods must be kept below 41 degrees, and hot foods must be kept about 140. We keep food hot with Cambros, and we'll talk about Cambros in a bit. Okay. The Cambros are used to transport and serve prepared food, and it maintains the food at a safe temperature. If these are done properly, they don't lose more than 1 degree an hour, so it'll keep food safe. These are kind of like a crock pot liner. The bags help keep the food hot. If we were in person, we'd do a little more working with this, but what it is you don't want to touch inside of the liners, because now you've contaminated them. So you go down a couple inches and hold it like that. Also see that they're wearing gloves. The lids you take, and there's little latches. If you do catty corner across each other and then do the middle last, it helps it seal better. Here they are. They're taking, when you're filling, you have a gallon scoop that you're scooping out. And then in between times, you close the bag to keep the heat in. You want to keep it as hot as possible. When they're ready for the next scoop, you open it up. So you can see they're going along. These things, especially filled with food, the Cambros are very heavy. Make sure you always do 2 people carrying it. Don't try and be a hero. You need 2 people. You see there, they're going out the door. They have 2 people carrying it. These are the labels. This tells us a lot. This is what's going to go on to your Cambro, and that was the red things are the Cambro. It's like Yetis on steroids. The 6.5, that tells you how many gallon scoops it's going to need for those many servings. You need to date it, what time, the temperature it was at, what it is, how many servings of what size. So when the Red Cross goes out, they're going to say, okay, they're going to get 8-ounce servings of this, and that we have 100 servings there. The IRV number, that will be the vehicle that these things are going to go to, and you do 1 of 2, so you know, okay, they're going to have 2 Cambros. So when they leave out, they should have 2 Cambros of beef stew. And number 8 would be, I'm not sure what. But we're doing an inventory class this year, which will be new, and it'll explain a lot of this in more detail. Accounting for meals prepared. This here is the Cambro again. You see the label hanging down from it. Will tell you what's in it. This is a log. This tells you, okay, Irv number 8 is going to have how many meals, how many scoops, time, temperature, things like that, how much meat, how much vegetable. And so these need to be filled out. And then this is the line. The Irvs will come up, the trucks will come up, and they'll say, okay, this is for Irv 4, and there's all their things, and they load it up, and then they're out giving it to the people. We don't do breakfast. We generally do a lunch meal goes out, and then a dinner meal. Okay. For off-site staging, we prepare the Cambros by vehicle number or route number or pallet number. We stage the paper and the snack products, and then loading the vehicles, either the American Red Cross or the Salvation Army. Here again kind of shows you the flow of things. We've got our feeding units, there's a shower unit. We have it set up for the Red Cross to drive by and to load and unload. When they're done serving the public, they bring the Cambros back. We clean them and sanitize them, and then we're good to go again. And here's some more. Working with the Salvation Army, the Red Cross. So they're kind of our partners in this. On-site feeding, setting up the on-site feeding line. There again, we're wearing gloves, we're wearing hats. Generally, we'll wear aprons. And the people would come through, we'd give them their food, and then they'd leave. Sometimes we do where they actually drive up. We did that in Pensacola. I believe they run together after a while, but the church wanted to do that for the local people, and so what we did is we had meals prepared. They would come up, we would ask how many meals they needed, and then we would hand them through the window to them. Okay, cleaning and sanitation. Can openers, tilt skillets, convection ovens, tables, Cambros and utensils, and garbage disposal. Okay. This is our sanitation. Feeding has 3 parts. It's cooking the food, it's serving the food, and then it's sanitation, cleaning up. This is a Steam Jenny, and it's like a pressure washer, cleans them. These tubs have sanitizing solution, and you rock it back and forth for a minute, and then they air dry. Everything is air dried. It's suggested you bring at least 2 pair of shoes, because if you're working with this, your shoes are probably going to get wet. Some even bring boots. Okay. Inventory and logistics. This is the pathway the food comes. It has to be ordered. Sometimes the Baptist Disaster Relief orders it. Sometimes Red Cross orders it. It's delivered, stored, and staged, opened, cooked, delivered, and served. Inventory and logistics. Need to order supplies, receive the incoming shipments, make sure if it's food that it's been kept properly, keeping accurate inventory records. So if you need to feed 5,000 people, you need to make sure you have enough product to do that. Moving food from storage to the prep area. Sometimes the food will be stored in trailers. And these are some of the trailers. We have, sometimes it's for dry storage. We also have refrigerated ones. The administration. The unit director is the blue hat. People ask, what are the differences in hats? Basically, a credentialed volunteer will have a yellow hat. The blue hat is kind of like the supervisor. He handles the day-to-day operations of the feeding unit. The administrative assistant will assist the unit director with operational paperwork. This is Miss Jenny. She is in administration, and she really helps us a lot. There's a lot of paperwork. You need to sign in when you come in. They need to know where you are. They keep track of how many meals are served, and things like that. So there's a lot involved in feeding. Aspects of feeding operations: food prep, on-site, cleaning and sanitation, inventory and logistics, and administration. Okay, emphasis on personal hygiene. Florida has never had a reported case of foodborne illness, and that's because we follow these guidelines. Personal hygiene for volunteers. Can volunteers contaminate food? Proper hand washing, other hand care issues, and gloves. Actions by ministry volunteers that can contaminate food: scratching your scalp, putting your hair behind your ears, running your fingers through your hair, touching your ears, nose, or face, touching others, hugging, coughing, sneezing, dirty uniform, apron, or gloves, and spitting, which please don't do that. So with hand washing, we've all learned a lot about hand washing. That feeding has already known for a long time, but now the world's suddenly alert to it. We're going to talk about how to wash your hands, when to wash your hands, and other hand care issues. How to wash your hands. You wet your hands first, about 100-degree water temperature. You don't want to scald your hands, but you want warm water. Apply the soap, scrub your hands, wrist, and arms for 20 to 30 seconds. Rinse it thoroughly. Use a single-use paper towel and keep that paper towel, and after your hands are dry, use that to turn off the faucet, and then use it to open the door to leave the room, and then throw it away. If you've ever been in a restroom, there's people that walk in and use the facilities and never wash their hands. So if you've cleaned your hands and then you touch a dirty doorknob, you've just undone everything. So use a paper towel to open the door. We have hand washing stations, which kind of looks, it's actually kind of like a drink Cambro, but it's set up to wash your hands. We have soap, there will be paper towels. Hand washing is very important. When to wash your hands: after using the restroom, before and after handling any food, when you're touching your hair, your face, your body. If your pants are falling down and you got to hike them back up, you need to wash your hands. Get clean gloves. After sneezing or coughing or using a tissue, whether eating and drinking, and we're not supposed to be smoking. After handling any chemicals, after taking out the garbage, cleaning tables, after touching clothing or aprons, and after touching anything that might contaminate your hands. So basically, if you touch anything that's not the food or food related, like the stirring things and that, you need to wash your hands. Other hand care issues. Hand sanitizer is only used after washing your hands properly. Washing your hands is our main defense. Fingernails should be cut short. It's easier to keep them clean that way. No fingernail polish that could flake off. No false nails, because I don't want to look down at my food and have somebody's false nail in there. Make sure you properly bandage and cover hand wounds. Gloves. One thing I've told people not to do this. I didn't know people actually did, but I went to a food truck and the guy was having trouble getting his gloves, and he went and then put it on his hand. Don't do that. Don't blow in your gloves. Your gloves shouldn't be stuck in your pocket for later on. The gloves, you go to where the gloves are, you pull them out and put them on immediately. They're one time only. You don't re-wash them. You don't wash them. When you're done with them, they go in the trash and you get a clean pair. We're going to talk about mandatory and recommended use and when to change your gloves. Mandatory use. You must wear clean gloves anytime you touch ready-to-eat food. That would be salads, raw fruit, vegetables, anything that's not going to be cooked. When you touch the outside of a Cambro liner, you wear gloves, or when you serve food. Recommended use is when you're temping food. That's when you have your thermometer, you're making sure it's hot enough. When you're scooping food into the Cambros, when you're handling sticky, messy, greasy foods, that just makes it easier to clean your hands, or when you're using chemicals. When to change your gloves. When you change task or food. If you've been working with meat and then now you're going to put rolls on a tray, you change your gloves if they get soiled or torn. If you touched anything contaminated, like if you keep hiking your pants up, every time you touch it, you're going to have to touch your clothes, you're going to have to put clean gloves on. And anytime you need to wash your hands. Do not wear plastic gloves or plastic aprons around the convection oven. They get very hot and will melt. Don't have plastic gloves under your oven mitts. If there's a little hole, you get the heat through it, it can melt it to your skin. So when you're around the convection oven, you should only be wearing cloth aprons and using cloth mitts. Okay, additional considerations. What to wear for hats and aprons. The idea with the hat is that your hair is constrained. You don't want somebody's red curly hair showing up in your food. So you wear a hat. Any hat, DR hat, can be used. We used to sell the visors. If you're wearing a visor, you will have to wear a hairnet. No pins in your hat. When you go to a call out, like I have an Irma pin and several others, and a lot of people want to put that in their hat or on their lanyard. But if that pin falls off into someone's food, it's not a good thing. So Mr. Steve Norris, who's our state feeding coordinator, his suggestion is to have two caps. One you wear when you're not around food with all your pins in, and then one when you're working with food that has no pins. Also, don't put them on your lanyards when you're around food. They must be worn when food is being prepared or served. Beard nets for people with facial hair. I just shave mine off, so I don't have to worry about it. But if you have a beard or a mustache, it needs to be covered because we don't want that getting into someone's food. I have an example when I went to a convention. It wasn't Florida Baptist. And I looked down on my plate, and here there's this little short, very stiff brown hair that happened to match one of the servers' beards. So that's why we wear the coverings. We want the food to be safe. Non-credentialed volunteers can wear a hairnet or a hat without the DR logo. We prefer you be credentialed, but sometimes we'll have people walk up. If they do, they are allowed to help as long as they are with a credentialed person overseeing them. Aprons. Cotton or plastic aprons can be worn when preparing or serving food, but don't use the apron as a hand towel, which is very easy to do. Then you're contaminating it. The apron is there to keep whatever's on your clothes from getting into the food, and also if you splash food on you, it's much easier to change an apron than it is to change your whole outfit. Do not wear plastic aprons when working near convection ovens. Remove your apron if you're taking out the garbage, if you're leaving a food prep area or serving area, and if you're leaving to use the restroom. We have plastic disposable aprons that we use, and as long as it's not around the convection oven, it makes it easier, because if you have a cloth apron and it gets soiled, then it needs to be cleaned. But around a convection oven, it has to be a cloth. Food prep areas and while serving food. No rings, no wrist watches, no ear or nose rings. I wouldn't want to find somebody's nose ring in my food. No false nails or eyelashes or fingernail polish or false nails. Anything that could fall off and contaminate the food, we want to eliminate that. No eating or drinking or chewing gum. We'll have a designated area, like a little break area where you can go. But when you're preparing the food, you're not eating or drinking there. No water bottles, personal food, drink cups on prep tables, tilt skillets, etc. Keep these in the designated break area. And one thing that's important is that you self-manage. It's very easy to get dehydrated. You need to make sure you're drinking a lot of water. You need to take breaks sometimes. But just stay nearby and then take your break and then come back refreshed. Personal health issues. If you're sick or feeling sick, make sure the Blue Hat knows immediately. Follow their directions. Isolate yourself from the others. Don't attempt to work anywhere on the DIR site, but particularly in food prep areas. Because if you're not feeling well and you try and tough it out and you end up getting everybody else sick, we have no workers. So it's better for you to take the day off, get better, and then come back and help. Don't be a Baptist. I know we love to hug our friends and the DR becomes like your family, but when you've got your apron and your gloves and things on, you need to keep them clean. Tell them you'll see them later. Don't visit people if they're sick. I know that's hard. It's your best friend, but what they'll do is usually they'll have one person will check on that person. We don't want to be infecting everybody else. And don't be a martyr. If you feel sick, let someone know. In one call out, I had emphasized that, and the man said, I'm glad you said that. He said, I wasn't really feeling good, but I felt bad, like I was letting people down. I go, If you're sick or feeling sick, the best thing you can do is to isolate yourself and rest and then come back to help. General feeding unit practices, keep the area clean. A clean area is easier to work in. It's required by the health department, and we are sometimes inspected by the health department. It makes finding supplies easier, and it keeps down on Florida's bugs and pests. Only commercial processed food, home processed food is a no-go. Home prepared food is a no-go because we can't guarantee what's in it. We can't guarantee how it's been prepared, how it's been kept. We can serve it to workers. We just don't serve it to survivors. Safety. Be mindful of equipment used in your area. A lot of times you see there's all kinds of wires, and if you're not careful, you're going to trip. So always be aware of your surroundings. Look out for trucks, forklifts, trip hazards, and on-site equipment. Additional considerations. Use common sense. Wear comfortable clothes and closed-toed shoes. Make sure they fit and appropriate for the weather and the work that you're going to be doing. Don't risk injury lifting heavy items like boxes or canned food or Cambros. Have a lift team and lift with your legs, not your back. You know your limitations, and don't be afraid to say, I can't lift that, I can't do that. Can you help me, or can you find someone that will help? You need to wear long pants. Capris are okay. The thing is, that's for your protection, because if you spill hot food, I'd much rather spill it on my jeans than I would on my skin. Drink and eat appropriately. This will help prevent dehydration. It's very easy to get dehydrated. You need to make sure you're drinking. Sometimes you're going to be cooking over hot tilt skillets. In Florida heat, even though you have a cover, it's going to be very warm. And if you're not careful, it's very easy to get dehydrated. So make sure you're drinking water a lot. Rest when you can. If there's a little lull, don't be standing there. Find a chair or pull up, sit under a tree in the shade. Take breaks when you can. And take breaks during the day. Just let your lead person, like if you're doing cooking, let the lead cook know, say, I need to go sit down for a minute and drink some water, and then I'll be back. Get as much rest at night as you can. No tobacco use on the site, and no chewing gum in food prep areas. Hands-on training. This is something that can be very useful for people who have never gone out on a call out. You might wonder, what is it like? This training is starts on Friday at 1 and ends on Saturday at 3. So you have 3 opportunities. You're going to be cooking food one time, you're going to be serving one time, and then you're going to be cleaning up one time, which are the 3 aspects of feeding. You're going to be sleeping in a church on a cot that you bring, which will be like you would in a disaster relief thing. So it kind of gives you a mini taste of it. Every call out is going to be different. No 2 are the same, but it'll give you a little idea. If you want to know a little bit of what it's like to go on a call out, then plan to do the hands-on feeding. You learn to use all the equipment, you stay overnight, you bring a twin size only cot or air mattress, and you need to pre-register with Steve Norris, who is our state feeding coordinator, because they need to know who to plan for. So this is a good opportunity to get a little taste of what it's like to go on a call out, and I would highly recommend it. There's types of disasters, aspects of feeding operations, emphasis on personal hygiene, additional consideration, and hands-on training is what we've talked about, which is a lot to cover. When you're on a site, I know you're not going to remember probably all of this. The more times you go out, the more familiar it becomes with you. But if you have a question, ask. We help each other. We're a team. We're brothers and sisters in Christ, and we'll help you. There's always going to be someone there, and probably several someones who've done this a lot, and they probably will have the answer, or if they don't, they'll ask the blue hat. These are some links that will give you some more information if you want to go in depth. If you have, Florida is divided into 7 regions. Like I said, I'm from Region 5. You have feeding coordinators. And on the website of floridabaptist.org, the DR task force will tell you the leaders' names and how to contact them. What I do, if I know a storm is coming, I will contact someone. And I'll ask them, do you think we're going? And what do you think we might be doing? And I prepare myself getting ready. Okay, I'm going to have my cot ready. I'm going to have my pillow, my medicines, my clothes ready to go if I'm called out. Okay, if you have any questions, fldrfeeding@gmail.com. They'll answer your questions, and there aren't any stupid questions. And if you, so you need to feel free to ask. We'll be glad to help you. We want you to be trained. We want you to be safe. We want to be giving help and healing and hope to people that are suffering from a disaster. And this is our way, this is our gift to God that we can give to Him, our worship in a way that we're serving Him by serving other people, and we're blessing people, but it's also a blessing to be involved in God's work through Florida Baptist Disaster Relief. Now that we're done with this video, what you need to do is you go back and there's a set of questions. You answer the questions, and that will be your attendance. That shows that you took this class, and then it'll be marked down. So don't forget to do the questions. Maybe someday I'll run into you either at a training or at a disaster relief site. We pray there won't be any disasters, but we prepare for if there is. And just be prayed up and be willing to go, be flexible, be loving, and thank you so much.